Well, good evening and welcome, and we're glad that you've chosen to be with us tonight here for Mumble News Update.
Yeah, we're here live again from the Fatheadz Eyewear Studio down here in Indianapolis, Indiana. So we're pretty excited for another edition here of the Mumble with Justin Peck. It's been a busy week since our announcement last Friday, kind of going over some of the restrictions and the guidelines that we're forced to deal with this year.
Yeah, it's definitely given me a lot of headaches. The word is kind of out now. Everybody understands that, it's going to be tough this year with the guidelines. The Allen County Department of Health in Fort Wayne has given us, I say guidelines, but they're more like restrictions. And as you look on the screen, the building capacity is limited to 2,000 people this year. And that's grandstands and pits combined, staff and everything, 2,000 people. The 6-foot social distancing in the grandstands, it's not such a big problem, especially when we only have 2,000 people. The biggest problem is the social distancing in the pits. We have to keep every pit stall 6 feet apart. And with that, everybody knows we get like 300 units at the Rumble with go-karts, quarter midgets, and the 2 classes of 600cc midgets. Well, this year with the 6-foot stalls, we can only get 67 people upstairs, and therein lies the problem. And so as we get closer in, we'll be talking about that, but we're kind of forced this year to have to go to an invitational basis. Trust me, it's not something I want to do. It's something that we have to do. And then, of course, we've got the face covering requirement that we're going to be forced to work with.
Yeah, so along with that, we're also forced to split up some of the classes with the carts and the quarter midgets between both days. So midgets and 600s obviously running both days, but we are forced to split up some of the classes that you can see for the quarter midgets and the go-karts, but between Friday and Saturday.
Again, that was a difficult decision, to say the least. Our first option was to actually not run the go-karts and quarter midgets and just live with the upstairs this year. But, the go-karts and quarter midgets have been so loyal to us through the years, you really can't dismiss them. So, the best option was to split them. At least they can still race at the Rumble, but we just can't. We can only get like 100 units down in the basement. So that's going to be a difficult thing too. And so we're working on that. That's going to be an invitational also. And we're going to be talking about that.
Yeah, so with that being said, all of this is only 7 weeks away. The countdown is on. 7 weeks from now, we'll be loading into the Coliseum. So definitely start ramping up the excitement for this year. I know we're getting pretty close, so the countdown's on. Yeah,
it is. And of course, for those of you, hopefully everybody that's watching knows about the Rumble and the location, but we are in the Allen County War Memorial Coliseum and Expo Center. It's located on Parnell Avenue, just on the north side of Fort Wayne, just off of I-69, very easy to get to. And we race in the Expo Center, the brand new part of the building. It's a 1/6-mile concrete oval that's built specifically for the racing.
Yeah, and you mentioned the new part of the Expo Center, but it's cool that in the same building it was actually the start of USAC and midget racing back in the arena part. And I think we actually have a cool picture we can show you from one of the first Rumbles.
Yeah, that's the way it was. That was in 1956. It was the very first race for USAC, January 8th, 1956. That's when USAC was formed, split away from the AAA group. And they held races there for 33 years. And you can see that that's in a hockey rink. And Justin was looking at it earlier and commenting about how narrow it was. And if you look real closely, the no cages on the midgets and everything, it's really come a long way, but used to be every January, and then Bill Lipke, the promoter, did a great job and expanded it to 2 Sundays. It was the second and fourth Sunday, I believe, or maybe the first and third, but it was 2 Sundays every January, and we all looked forward to that. And then in 1989, after 33 years, it kind of came to an end because where the hockey rink is in the arena, they actually lifted the roof and put on another whole layer of VIP suites and seating. So during that construction, they then added on the new Expo Center, which is huge. And Tony Barhorst in his classic motorsports saw the opportunity to revive the indoor midget racing in Fort Wayne, and he brought it back in 1998. So, and now 23 years later, we're still there.
Yeah, so we're definitely glad that he did that. So I think it's a good time to mention, Jason Deach Trailer Sales back again this year. So it's going to be the Rumble in Fort Wayne presented by Jason Deach Trailer Sales. Obviously, huge thanks to them for coming on board for their 4th year as our presenting partner.
Yeah, and the neat thing about and it was quite ironic that coming up here today, coming up I-69 out of Anderson, we pass a trailer, a pickup and a trailer, and right on the back is Jason Deach Trailer Sales logo. So he told us last 2 weeks ago when we were up there, he has sales in every state except for one. I think it was New Mexico, maybe. Right. And so he's working on, he told his sales staff that they had to fulfill that this year. Looking up to the Rumble, and once we get the invitations out and everybody makes their plans, we're happy to announce that the 3 hotels that have been working with us for the past several years are returning with their racer rates this year.
Yeah, so obviously we have the Holiday Inn, which is right across the street from the Coliseum for $109. Also returning is the Hyatt Place for $79, and then I think one of the racers' favorites is the Ramada Plaza for $80.
And some of the stories that I've heard from the Ramada Plaza, I don't know. We won't go into that right now, but that's kind of the gathering spot. But the Holiday Inn right across the street, so convenient. You can just walk right over, get some fresh air after coming out of the Expo Center and get your room over there. So, and the neat thing is, folks, I have to remind you, we're still at the mercy of COVID. The numbers in Indiana and everywhere are escalating. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that does not affect us at this time. But go ahead and make your reservations. All 3 of the hotels have said there's no cancellation problem. If the COVID happens to come in and postpone the event, you'll be able to cancel your rooms. So that we're really happy for that.
Yeah, we're glad everyone's kind of being pretty understanding and working with us during these very uncertain times. So. Also, we if you haven't noticed, we changed our Facebook name this week, so that is now Rumble in Fort Wayne to kind of better reflect, our brand. Also, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and then check our website for the latest information regarding this year's race.
Okay, we're getting ready to wrap this up, so just a couple quick things we want to remind everybody. The John Limbacher Memorial Race is coming back. That's going to be on Saturday night with the 360 clone. The Limbacher family putting $2,000 up to win for that, so we're looking forward to that. And the biggest thing is everybody's asking about the Invitational, so I'll try to spill the beans as quickly as I can here. It's going to be an invitation basis. We're going to take into consideration the years of support and everything as our first guideline. They'll be going out starting Sunday. And then those invitees will have until November 21st to respond. After that date, any open positions we are going to take from a waiting list, and then we're going to do a Facebook Live, and we're actually going to put the names in a hat, and we'll be drawing out for the available spots. Trust me, it's not something I want to do. It's something I have to do, and I just hope that everybody understands it's not personal. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up this week's edition of the Mumble News Update. And in just a few moments, we're going to bring in our very special guest tonight from Monrovia, Indiana, Justin Peck. Well, hello, race fans, and it's Thursday, 7:23 p.m., so we know what that means. It's time for the Rumble Mumble, and we're here tonight for our second week in the Fatheadz Eyewear Studio in Indianapolis, and I think you're going to find this is probably one of the fastest 23 minutes you're going to see in motorsports.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, it's our second week here in the Fatheadz Studio, but this is our fifth Rumble Mumble already, so the calendar pages are definitely not standing still. The countdown is on for the Rumble in Fort Wayne on December 18th and 19th.
And we just have to remind everybody again, if you listen to the news update, the program, unfortunately, is, if you look at our website, we came up with a new logo. It actually has the mask on it, and we're calling it the COVID-19 edition of the Rumble Mumble. And so we're kind of altering things, but we'll go right into tonight. Despite his youthful age, our guest tonight is really considered a veteran, and we're really glad to have him here tonight to learn a lot about his career and his experiences at the Rumble. So at this time, we'd like to welcome to the studio Justin Peck from Monrovia, Indiana. Justin?
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Justin, Larry said you've been here, or you've made 7 of the previous 8 Rumbles, and one of those years were obviously due to illness. That was 2017. But that almost kind of seemed like it lit a fire, under your seat, So the very next year, you came back 2018, and you picked up your 3rd Rumble win.
Yeah, I mean, being successful at the Rumble is definitely something I've been fortunate enough to have. But the success stems from just a group of guys I got in my corner. I mean, having my pops in the shop and turning the wrenches at the track always makes everything easier. And racing with family is a lot of fun. So that's always cool to do. And then I got a great car owner in Steve Clay. Shout out to Steve Clay. I know you're watching. But it's great. It's great to like I said, it's great to be racing for a good group of guys and knowing that no matter what, I got a group of guys that's always got my back.
So missing that 1 year, probably, I remember getting the call. It was like the day before when you finally just said, no, I can't make it. And I can imagine how disappointed you were.
Yeah, I mean that's just one of those deals, man, where it's as a racer, you always think you've got to be at the racetrack no matter what. But at the end of the day, your health is always the most important thing. So it was a struggle just to walk to the bathroom, and the time was needed. So definitely had to take that year off. But since I've come back to racing, like I was telling you earlier, Larry, I mean the track seems to have changed. I mean it seemed like before I took that year off, it was just black rubber and get it hooked up and sling that thing around there. And, now it's, or at least for me, it's, the rubber's not down as much and I'm having to work extra hard trying to get this thing to go around the turn. And, it had to change the driving style a little bit. But like I said, it's just always having a fast race car is sure nice. And it just makes my job that much easier.
That's been a kind of the common denominator that we've had from almost all of the guests that we've had that have been involved with midget racing is talking about the changing of the track surface. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens this year. Because of the COVID, we're splitting the program up. There's actually like 2 racing programs. The karts and quarter midgets will run all of their stuff in the afternoon. And then when we come into the evening, it will be just the winged and non-winged 600s and the midgets running their full program. So we won't have any of the other divisions running their features in between. So whatever rubber you guys lay down, hopefully you'll be able to build upon. But let's go back to the start of Justin Peck. And it was quite interesting reading your biography. And I think the thing that caught my eye, and you can see the fire in your eye right now, is you started in 2004 in a quarter midget, and you go out there to the racetrack, and you see all these trophies and everything, and you saw kids running around with trophies, and you didn't get one. And that upset you. So the next week, what happened?
It's funny because I don't remember too much of those early quarter midget days, but that one day in particular stands out pretty well. I don't remember how it happened. Somehow I got involved in a pileup. It's my first race out, it's first feature, and man, I was so upset because we didn't, we get in this pileup. I remember coming in and. Everyone gets to working on the race car, and it just didn't work out that we got it back out there. But I do remember how upset I was that I got the little participation booklet for running 8th or whatever it was. And So next week I come back and I wanted a trophy, so we got the biggest one. It worked out.
No, I don't know if you saw our Flashback Friday last week, but it was a pretty cool one where we had Eric Jones's entry for quarter midgets in the Rumble, and we actually had Chase Briscoe's quarter midget. And it just seems like so much of the racing talent today came from quarter midgets. What is it about quarter midget racing that I guess helps develop drivers?
I think it was just an era. I mean, a lot of those guys around my age are a little older, a little younger. We got a little younger Zeb Wise, or guys like Tyler Courtney might be a little older. I might not have grown up racing with them in the specific class that I was racing at the time, but getting to grow up with all these guys who are now the big names, growing up, and you were just dreaming of being those big names. It's pretty cool. But no, I think the quarter midget thing is just you go to certain places and you kind of learn how to use the brake pedal, learn how to work the pedal a little bit, getting up into those bigger deco. Back in the day, we had deco classes, and now it's all those animals and the Hondas and stuff like that. But I think those bigger classes, a little bit more power to weight ratio, really kind of helped groom us into getting ready for the dirt stuff. And
the neat thing about the Rumble with the quarter midgets is it's so different from any other track that they run at. It's so big and so fast, and a lot of these kids come in for the first time, and it's an eye-opener for them, and they get out there, and of course we run the program the same as for like the midgets, the go-karts and everything, so it's a whole different ball game for them, and the kids love it. The parents, sometimes we have a few problems with them, but and Cobo Dine, I mean, you just look at the names that have run at the Rumble. It's really kind of neat. But you're talking about the youthful age, and another statistics I picked up on, Kyle, we were talking about like his young.
Yeah, we have some stats on you as far as in 2010, you were the youngest winner in Kenyan midgets at 10 years old. 2012, you were the youngest winner in Power Eye midgets at 13 years old. And then obviously you came and ran the Rumble in 2013 and became the youngest midget winner at 15 years old.
Yeah, it's that's one of the reasons why I like the Rumble. You know what I mean? It's kind of the place I got my start in the big cars. I'd been running, I ran some late model stuff and I ran some micro stuff, but to me that wasn't always the big stuff. I was always looking forward to going midget racing and going sprint car racing and running Silver Crown. And luckily a guy named Steve Clay out of Michigan decided to take an opportunity on me, so it just kind of worked out. We went out and second and third the first year, and that was kind of when I got the realization that this was actually something that I could pursue and try to make a career out of it. So it's just racing always comes full circle. You know what I mean? I might have had those accomplishments at a younger age, but it seems like the older I get, man, the more wrecking hurts and the slower you kind of go a little bit. But no, I mean, on a serious note, though, just some of the accomplishments we had when we were younger goes back to being, like I said, I always had a good group of guys in my corner. I mean, my mom and my dad have always had my back 100%, and growing up just until the last few years, I mean, it was always a mom and pop deal. I mean, I got to run for my family for many, many years.
Right, and I noticed in a lot of the biographies on you, you're always talking about the family, how important the family is to your operation.
Well, you hear a lot of guys thinking they're crew chief and a lot of guys thinking they're car owner and stuff. Well, my car owner and my crew chief are the same people, so it was... we lived and died together, we still do today. So it's cool. And that's another, that's why the Rumble's so great. It's that 1 or 2 times a year you get to come back and race with your family again.
Well, tell us about the Rumble, coming in at 14, and then the next year, your birthday's in September, so if anybody starts doing the math on the ages and stuff, they don't always add up, but with your birthday in September. But anyways, you come in at 15 years old, and you're running against the likes of Tony Stewart, Mel Kenyon, I believe Tony Elliott was still racing back then, Dave Darlin, John Stambro. I mean, names that were kind of like legends as you grew up, and now you're racing against them.
Yeah, well, it's like I was telling you earlier. It's almost like the track the last few years is kind of you got to slow down to go fast, and that's honestly just kind of how it was when I got to racing with those guys. I was just kind of trying to fall in line and get behind them, kind of learn some stuff, see what they're doing, and learn technique. And it was like one dropped out right after another, and suddenly we're in the top few. So it worked out. Billy Weiss is a cool guy, man. I really watched how Billy was racing. just seeing where he was putting his car and watching what he was doing, and of course him carrying the left front's always cool to watch. So I just honestly watching him, I kind of got a good idea of what I needed to do, and just from getting behind guys like Smoke and Eve B-Shack and guys like that, that's really kind of what brought me along.
Okay.
So has it changed? Obviously, we talked about the track changing in recent years. Is there a different group of guys you look at now to be fast, or?
Yes and no. I mean, Tony's always going to be fast. You know he's always going to be out front. You know that Billy's always going to be out front. And you know the Hamiltons are always going to be out front. But, it's cool. We get to mix it up with new guys like, Cap Henry and Joe Ligori's car and getting to dice it up with a buddy of mine, Joe. And, there's definitely a little bit different group of guys. It seems like it's the same guys we've been racing around. Just, I don't know if I've gotten slower. All these other guys have gotten faster, but it seems like we're dicing it up a lot harder than we used to.
Last year, you were talking about how cool it was the night that you, Tony, and Kyle were running right up front. And, we were talking too. It used to be 100 laps, and it went down to 75. Then it went down to 60, down to 50. Well, now we have like a break after 35, 38 laps because of the fumes. So, you have to get with the program right away. And the three of you guys hooked up front there, and what a whale of a show that was.
Yeah, Kyle and I kind of got lucky and got to start at the front row, and Tony had to come chase us down, which of course he did. But, it's cool. It's kind of like I've been saying, the tracks the last few years, you kind of got to race a little bit slower to be faster. And I know right off the bat I was trying to beat Kyle's bumper off, and I couldn't ever get to him just for the fact that I was pushing it too hard. So the more I slowed down and the more I kind of kept my tire underneath of me, I was a lot better off. And then once I got out front, you feel the heat, so you just kind of use the tire up and burn it off, which didn't work out in my favor, but I put on a good show for the fans. I mean, the track nowadays, it's just as racy as it ever was, just a little bit different situation.
We talked a little bit before the show that you kind of have to obviously have a different racing style at the Rumble. How different or how hard is it to kind of like mentally prepare for the Rumble after a full year of running midgets and sprint cars on dirt?
It's not as different as you might think. Some of the smaller bull ring tracks you kind of get to using your feet in the same manner as you would at the Rumble. And then it changes depending on when you go out after the go-karts, or depending on what portion of the night you're at. You're looking to kind of stomp and steer, or sometimes you're kind of looking to featherfoot. So just kind of depends. I mean, I know feature time last year, the first half, it was real light on the gas and really kind of roll and don't use the brake much. Then as we kind of went, more rubber kind of got laid down. You can kind of hit the brake a little harder and stay in the gas a little longer. So it just, it kind of changes like a dirt race. And I think that's another reason why the Rumbles kind of fits my style.
Okay, once again, we'd like to remind everybody we are here at the Rumble Mumble at the Fatheadz Eyewear Studios in Indianapolis. We'd like to thank Rico and Carl for all of their efforts in making this show possible. And coming up December 18th and 19th is the 23rd annual Rumble in Fort Wayne at the Allen County War Memorial Coliseum and Expo Center in Fort Wayne. And looking forward to that. And, of course, we want to give another big shout-out to our presenting sponsor.
Yeah, of course, Jason Deach Trailer Sales coming back on, like we said, for his 4th year now. So huge shout out to those guys. Thank you for continuing to support the Rumble in Fort Wayne, as well as, like we said before, he supports a lot of racers around here. So if you need a trailer, definitely go to that guy.
Let's go back to high school again. You kids have it so great today with social media. You get to learn so much. When we were growing up, you had to go to the racetrack and kind of tug on the driver's sleeve and ask him questions. Now, reading that baseball, you were pretty popular and you had enjoyed playing baseball, and you kind of had a love for math. That's surprising to me.
Yeah, that's not something I would usually admit to somebody, but no, I don't know. School, I never liked school in the fact that I had to go answer to somebody, but I liked school in the fact like figuring things out and kind of working through things. Math is the only subject I actually enjoyed and the only subject I really tried at, and it was just for the fact that it's all, you got numbers and you got to figure out what, you get an equation and you don't even know what to do with it when you look at it, so you got to go through the whole process from point A and figure out what you got to do. It's kind of like working on a race car, you got to figure out how to make one go fast, just problem solving and plug and chug.
So what did the kids obviously you were racing while you were in high school. What did the kids, was that cool, or did they just like
It depended on who it was, you know.
Gotcha.
It was cool to my friends, you know. Some of the other people never really cared. You know, funny story. Actually, my girlfriend I've been dating since we were in high school, and she didn't even know what a sprint car was or a midget was when we first started dating. So not that many people seemed to care, but it was pretty popular. You know, it was cool to get to leave school early. You know, leave on a Thursday and not have to go Friday. A lot of kids talked about that. Wasn't very popular with the teachers either.
So you also ran some pavement midgets growing up, pavement midgets, and even a few CRA late model starts. What were those like?
You know, I racing quarter midgets and stuff. I was always on pavement. I never really ran too much dirt. So it was kind of tough transitioning into the dirt stuff. But then when I transitioned back into the pavement midgets and the late models and stuff, it didn't seem as bad. I seemed to pick up on it a little bit faster. The Jag stuff was really cool, man. It's a shame to see that series not have a consistently strong field of cars all the time, because I think what they're doing for late model racing is pretty cool. Pavement late models are cool, man. I don't care what form of racing it is, a stock car, open wheel car. It's all a lot of fun. You know, I kind of hope my stock car opportunities open up eventually in the future, but for right now, I'm just having a lot of fun doing what I'm doing.
Well, obviously, you're making a name for yourself, and the car owners are watching, because this past August, you kind of got a surprise phone call for the Hoosier 100, or the Hoosier 100.
Yeah, Mickey. Well, actually, hang on. Let me restart. Joe Devin called me. I'm at work. I work at Hoosier Tire here in Brownsburg. So I was just down the road and balancing some tires, and I get a phone call. Joe Devin. I was like, oh, okay, this will be good. So I answered it, and he said, hey, you're going to get a call here in about 5 minutes from a guy named Mickey Meyer. Want you to run a Silver Crown car. I'm like, okay, I know Mickey a little bit. And, oh, man, it wasn't 5 minutes later. Mickey's calling me up and saying, yeah, Joe recommended you. I'd like you to come run the car. And it's pretty cool, man. It's cool to see that, just through the people I'd networked with, I got the opportunity. And sadly, the opportunity didn't pan out like I wanted it to. You had some engine issues the whole time we were out there. But, man, Mickey builds an awesome race car, and that's a fun group of guys to hang out with. I'm really happy to get the opportunity, and we're talking about maybe hooking up again for this coming summer, so we'll see what happens.
You know, you look at the Silver Crown, and a great opportunity is at the Four Crown Nationals over at Eldora when we run the midgets, the sprints, and the Silver Crown. You know, you start with the midget, and you're like cramped in this little roll cage and running. The sprint car, you have a little bit more room, and then you get into these mammoth Silver Crown cars. It's almost like you're sitting in an apartment steering, like in a game or something like that.
Yeah, it's funny. I joked with some guys not that long ago. We were talking about the Four Crown, and they were telling me I should try and do all four of them. So I think I've got 2, possibly 3 lined up now. So maybe we might see me try to attempt all 4 of them this coming September. But man, Eldora is one of those places that you mess up a little bit and you're going for one. So man, I think it'd be awesome to run a Silver Crown car on there, because those things are already sleds,
Silver Crown's making a comeback and pavement sprint cars. We talked a little bit about the pavement, the late models, and the announcement yesterday from Lucas Oil Raceway and Fatheadz Eyewear about the big Triple Crown they've got coming up there next year. So it's kind of good to see that come back too.
Yeah. Growing up here in Indianapolis, man, I've always carried a love for the pavement side. Pavement sprint cars, pavement midgets, just all that kind of stuff. And I still think today that some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen is a USAC midget rolling around IRP. So it's great to see what Rico from Fatheadz and all these car owners are doing. They're coming together and trying to put together a series. And I think it'll be cool. I think it means a lot for bringing that national audience back to the open wheel rings.
So most recently, you've been running with the All-Star Sprints over Eastern Pennsylvania against the Posse. Can we consider that maybe a stepping stone for in the future, maybe running with Outlaws?
Yeah, that's the goal, man. It's the goal for me has always been to try and get to the Outlaws. It's never been worried with NASCAR too much or IndyCar. Just always carried a love and a passion for sprint car racing. So, those guys are the best, man. And if you wanna try and make it there, you got to go race with the guys that are right there with them, and that's the Posse. I mean, guys like your Dietrich and your Monteith and your up and comers like Macri and Zierfoss and Cisney and guys like that are to get to race with those guys, you have to add such a level of fierceness to to your drive and your game of racing. So it's definitely progressed me a little farther along, just knowing that from the drop of the green, you got to be on it 100% no matter what.
In all of the interviews, you reference the Rumble in Fort Wayne quite a bit. You have 3 victories there. What is it about the Rumble that makes it such an important victory for you?
Well, for me, it's just that's kind of where I got my start. You know, Steve, like I said, Steve Clay was just gracious enough to let me have the opportunity to wheel the car, and that was kind of the first time I'd gotten into a big car, you know, and we just had a lot of success with it right off the bat, and got lucky enough to our second time out there. We ended up picking up the victory, and that was kind of my first big car victory, you know. So that was cool, and it just holds a special spot in my, you know, a special place in my heart that we get to go there every winter and get to do it again. So bringing the whole family aspect back into it, and getting to hang out with guys that brought me up throughout my career back in my younger days, that's cool, you know. And that's kind of what racing's all about, you know. It's giving back. Once you get to where you want to be, it's all about giving back and helping the next person get to that place.
You know, Kyle, we're listening to Justin Peck here, and you can just hear the fire. I mean, it's so evident. And another example of that was back in 2014. I'm reading that you had one of your first major crashes, and you had a concussion and out for 6 to 8 weeks. And you get back in the race car, and the very first night, you win.
Yeah, it's it's weird, man. Like, I'm always better if I have some time to stew on something bad that happened. It always makes me come back a little bit stronger. And that was just one of those deals, man, where I just went in there and threw it in as hard as I possibly could and rocked the curb down at Lincoln Park, and ended up, you know, over the banking way down on the other side. So totally my fault, and I had 8 weeks to stew on that. So that's kind of what came of it, you know.
I think I think that's a cool thing about the Rumble is that, you know, there's about 8 weeks beforehand, about at least 8 weeks afterwards, where there's no racing. So it's I think that's why a lot of people think it's so important to run well at the Rumble, is because if you do mess up, you know, you got a very long off season to think about that.
Yeah, it's for me. It always gives me a little bit of confidence going into Chili Bowl, and then after Chili Bowl, I'm really upset until we go back to racing. So no, it's nice, especially to roll in. You have 2 really big midget you know, the 2 bigger midget races of the winter, one on pavement, one on dirt. We're kind of back to back. So to come into the Rumble and to have that race of getting back into the swing of things and racing hard again, and, you know, if you're fortunate enough to come out with some solid finishes 2 nights in a row, it just gives you that much more confidence leading into another big one.
And this year, there's not going to be much of a break because Tony Stewart and his All-Star Circuit of Champions just announced their swing that's going to be in January and February in Georgia and Florida. So that's only going to be like a month after the Rumble, only a couple of weeks after the Chili Bowl. So this will be a good time to get the reflexes tuned in.
Yeah, we're going to have not much of an off season this year, which I'm not complaining about because we had a shortened season in 2020. So for you know, the winter of 2020 and going into 2021 is going to be super busy because we've only got so much time to prepare. You know, with my new venture going in the sprint car side of things, I'm fortunate enough to have a group of guys out there that are taking care of the stuff full time and allowing me to come back here and kind of get my winter program ready and, you know, just get myself mentally focused and ready for racing.
Well, we're getting to about that time where we need to start wrapping it up. So much more that we could talk about, and it's just been a very, very interesting conversation tonight as we get to know Justin Peck, his career, his experiences at the Rumble, and other racetracks around the country. And we really thank you for taking the time to come to the studio tonight, and we wish you well, and I'm sure that you're going to be on the invite list, so we'll be seeing you up at the Rumble here, COVID permitting, in 7 weeks.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I was talking to my dad the other day. We always say we want to go up there and sweep it, but this year it's just kind of got a little bit more to it. I haven't won yet this year, so we really need to pull out 2 before the end of the year.
There you go.
What a place to do that at. We did have Steve Clay just chime in, and super proud. So we're pretty excited to see you and Steve come back for the Rumble this year. In 7 weeks, we'll be doing that.
Okay, well, that's going to be a wrap on week number 5 here on the Rumble Mumble. We encourage you to join us again next week at 7:15 for the update. And at 7:23, we're going to go remote to Republic, Ohio, and talk to Cap Henry. So that's going to be a wrap on the Rumble Mumble. We thank you for joining in. Again, we thank Rico and Kyle at Fatheadz Eyewear, and we'll see you next week.